Hi everyone, Soulsurfer17 here. Thank you for this like usual. I do not own the pictures. I made the thumbnail, and this is not a paid video. Okay, so this is not basically really part 7. This is version 2. I decided to go with basically version 2. As, what if Deku was summoned into, to Ruby version 2. Alright? I mean, this is kind of like basically an idea, like I said, someone said a while back, and there's going to be a slight difference to this one. Izuku's not going to go to Beacon, and he's not going to basically interact with much of the cast of Ruby until basically Volume 4. I'm going to be watching most of the basically Ruby series, hopefully. Only up to Volume 8, even though there's a Volume 9, I'm having a hard time watching Volume 9. So, I can only go up to Volume 8. Basically, though, I can't watch I can't watch on the, Rooster Teeth, basically, website, but I just keep on, this pop-up, and I'm just getting annoyed by it, so I'm watching mostly on YouTube, which I don't own none of the sites or anything, of both of them. But yeah, so I'm going to be watching mostly on YouTube, but the fact is, there's a lot of it I'm not going to need to watch, actually. Maybe a few fight scenes here and there, and, so, I mean, this part just going to be, normal, for, part 1 of my version 1, or, well, the first, basically, video I ever made for the Ruby, Deku summoned into Ruby. So, the premise is still the same. No one remembers. Here's a quick recap. Izuku basically is diagnosed quirkless, and he decides to train to become the very first quirkless hero. He basically does save Bakugo, and he also is bullied, like in canon. The fact is, he tries to save Bakugo, and then he refuses to take All Might's quirk, and becomes the very first quirkless hero. During the 5th month, his mother dies. Basically she passes away, and then the 9th month is where basically, someone basically summons Izuku into the world between dimensions, and basically, kind of just, basically you'll give him a choice to go to a new world and never return to his old one, or stay in it. And Izuku makes a condition saying he can say bye to Mitsuki and her husband, and he does, and basically he, would then go to Ruby. And technically he gets a staff. Basically a bow staff that basically can turn into a scythe. That is still the same. I don't want to go over the exact details of basically what it is, because I want to jump right into it, get this part out, and see what everyone thinks of it. So, I will link basically my first video in the description, so you can watch basically that, if you want basically to get a more general sense of basically what I mean by basically the difference. So, let us get into this. Basically, what if Deku was summoned to Ruby, version 2, part 1. So, as I already said, Izuku's not going to go back to My Hero Academia. As this person's like, now then, choose a weapon. As basically, Izuku looks around, and basically, for some reason, when he's looking around, nothing basically catches his eye besides this bow staff. He goes over to it, and when he touches it, it materializes. But basically, this being basically says, good choice, and the light basically starts to glow on it. Basically, this kind of shocks everyone there, because Amber's there, not just basically Izuku and this mysterious being who's basically cloaked. As when the light died down, there's this gold, basically gold, basically to the staff, designed to it. It looks like basically flames is going up to it, and this basically, it looks like basically when the blade of the scythe comes out, it basically looks like a flame pattern to the edge. As the person says, interesting. Now, my only question is to you, Izuku Midoriya. Are you going to go to Beacon Academy and learn how to become a hunter? Or are you going to try to basically learn the world on your own, to solo everything? As Izuku thinks about this, he goes, what's the advantages of going to Beacon? He goes, which basically the person will say, simple. You will learn everything about the world very easily. Have higher basically help from basically the headmaster, the teachers, and learn very basically at a pace where it's reasonable. And the disadvantages? Well, unfortunately, you cannot progress very quickly. You have to basically take everything step by step. And if you want to gain experience on hunting, you're going to need to basically sign up for missions for that when you're basically second and fourth year. Wait, not second, third and fourth year. Which Zuko just kind of sighs and be like, what's the advantages basically going not to Beacon? Well, you basically basically have free roam to do whatever you want. No one will tell you what to do. You get to be free. You get to help out whoever you want and basically do what you want. Which, he then says, and the disadvantages, you have no roofing. You have to find money on your own. You then have to basically, keep your basically profile away from basically any trouble. And no one will basically help you much. Which Izuku just kind of smirks. He's like, well, I would like to go to Beacon, but meh. I feel like basically going on my own would be the best choice. Which basically just kind of shocks Amber and the mysterious being, which goes, are you sure? He's like, of course. I mean, I'll go to basically Beacon every time I want. I at least want to get to know the world before I start to have to listen to the rules, basically, and sort of go by what they want me to do. Which he sighs. Basically, this person, which Izuku's like, I'm sorry if that's... He goes, no, it's your choice. To be frank, am quite surprised. But to be fair, this is a... never mind. That's not important at the moment. Which, basically, Izuku's like, alright. I had, basically, a few things I was going to give you, but... like a semblance. Which he's like, semblance? He's, yes, a semblance where everyone usually will has as a hunter. You do not have aura, which basically, aura is used basically to protect yourself from basically attacks. So allow me to basically awaken it. As basically when he does, he'll be quite shocked about how much aura basically Izuku has. He goes, what did you do to basically have so much aura, young man? Which he was like, well, I trained, I meditate, I did what I could to help myself mentally and physically. He goes, that would explain it very much. Now, your semblance. What would you like it to be? Which he was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you see, I was going to make it just one semblance and worked away basically with a other weapon. But, since you're going to go to, on your own and not to Beacon, I have to give you more of a semblance where I shall call it a semblance unity. Multiple semblance combined into one, but each one property is not overshadowed by the rest. Which, Izuku's eyes widen. He goes, wait, so that means I have more than one? Wouldn't that, kill me or something? He goes, unlike your quirks, this could be basically avoided, and no one has ever been basically born with multiple semblances, or more than one. You'll be the very first one. So, you have to be very aware of your basically choices of that you made, which Izuku would not slowly. It was so. I will basically like you to write on this paper, which he was like, and then what will happen? He goes like, then you will get them, which Izuku would just nod. He goes, description too, which he would nod. So, Izuku basically would, write down each semblance. Now, he asked, wait, before you get rid of, make it where what happened, can you look at it first? I don't want to have anything too too flashy or, get known very easily. I want to stay on basically a down low, but exactly at the same time, I want to basically have an easier time than normal in this world. Which basically silence and then a nod. So when he looks, he goes, eraser. Allows you to erase semblance, auras, and dust. Interesting. That will help you a lot. Teleportation. He would teleport but with a black flash left behind, and it's only by sight, but if it's on walls or any surfaces that it's at an angle, something like a dagger will be placed into the wall for you to be able to grab onto. He looks at Izuku, which he can basically, Izuku tell raising the that this person's raising the eyebrow. He goes, I thought it'd be very useful. He goes, yes, but why a dagger on the wall? He goes, well, if I'm at a high building and I have to go side, basically looking up and then go onto another building and I have nothing to grab onto, he goes, to prevent your fall. Alright. Which basically goes, elemental? He goes, yeah, I don't know what dust is, but that's what I kind of wanted to ask you about before. Basically, I get this, Which he's looking at it, he goes, well, dust do have properties of elements in it. And basically, as you say, elemental, you basically would get basically a charge of basically elemental energy from basically the dust itself. But after that, you'll be able to basically use that element only for a short period of time, but you need to train in that element to keep it going for longer, correct? Which he was like, yeah, well, not exactly what I wrote, but which basically he's like, I shall call this the dust elemental. Now, this last one won't do. But she goes, wait, what do you mean? He goes, well, simple put, invisibility cannot be given to you. But she's like, oh. So, how about we work with the third one? He goes, which he was like, wait, what? He basically, as he basically erases that part and puts down something for, called this. Elemental creation. You can make any weapon with basically the element you are using. Which Izuku's eyes widened. He was like, what? Yes, you also forgot about this. And then he puts into basically a dust elemental. You can use the abilities of the element to your advantage. Which he's like, I guess just having the power of it wouldn't really help if I couldn't use it to the fullest extent. He goes, no. Is this all you want? Which he nods. He goes, well then. As then basically the paper starts to go into flames. He goes, since that is done, as Izuku feels basically overwhelming power, he goes, now, you must basically take the power of the maiden. Which Izuku would nod, and basically, like in my first, part, and, version 1, he would basically close his eyes and then basically concentrate, and basically the power starts to be absorbed into him. which was kind of shocked both of them. But after he's done, he basically feels it coursing through him. He goes, what now? Which, basically, this being says this. Well, since you are not going to Beacon, I cannot allow you to basically have no help. So, here's something basically that I've just whooped up a long time ago to anyone that needed it. But no one has ever have it. You will be the first one ever. Only you'll be able to see this. This is a reward system. This will basically reward you with items you need or items that you would need in the future or will want. Which Izuku's eyes will widen. He goes, wait, really? He goes, yes, you have to have basically assistance as soon as possible. I must warn you, if you do not go to Beacon, you would be very much in danger, but, maybe this eraser's basically semblance will actually help you. I hope you'll be safe, Izuku Midoriya. But then he basically, touches, Izuku's head for basically a few seconds as green light shines around him and then stops. He goes, I'll try to. And she goes, now good. Basically, you must get going and you must hide your weapon. Can't leave it out and basically, as in, Izuku goes like, huh? Wait, what do you mean by that? He goes like, well, not many people basically have their weapons out. They always have it basically sheathed or compressed or basically. Izuku's like, I see, maybe I can. As then basically he starts to basically, he unhooked one end, basically folded into another, and basically he goes, foldable staff. Which basically the person chuckles, which basically was like, who's she? Basically, the Zuko never really asked who the girl was, but she goes, oh, my name's Amber. It's nice to meet you. Which she's like, nice to meet you too. I'm, sorry for, she goes, oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. Besides, I said the power chose you, and I'm actually surprised you're not going to, basically, well, he goes, yeah, going to Beacon. She goes, yes, I'm not going to judge you, but you should. Which Izuku just sighs. He goes like, to be fair, I don't really trust many people anymore. So, which, that would just make her just nod slowly. She goes, again, I'm sorry. Which Izuku just sigh, not sighs, but he just kind of looks at her with a kind smile and goes like, don't be, you're just trying to look out for me. That's fine. Which, she's kind of surprised, but, hey. She's just like, just looks at him and just wish him luck. Which he nods. Sorry. So, what happens is that Izuku starts to go into a light and then he basically disappears. Which then basically, what happens is, Amber recently asked Ozpen, do you think he'll be alright? Which he sighs and like, time will tell, and we will see. But that boy may be in a harsh, basically, environments for now. We have to see basically how he basically will survive in our world without basically our assistance. But I will tell the others, and hopefully there'll be a lookout for him if he ever needs any help. Which she will just nod. So, after that, basically Zuko arrives in an alleyway. He's like, okay. Whew, that was one heck of a ride. Now, let's see where I am. So, he basically is walking forward for the alleyway, and then he starts to hear basically this noise, which he's like, what the? So he just starts running. When he basically gets outside the alleyway, he looks up and he sees a, plane, plane helicopter, basically, and someone basically, trying to keep it in an area, and then basically some girl with a red hood and dress on, basically trying to fight him, well, trying to basically stop it. But she's like, what the? And then basically when he hears basically someone says, freeze! He basically immediately puts his hands up, and basically then turns around. Which, he goes, hi officers. He goes, get on the ground. Which Zuko's just like blinking. He's like, but I just came out of that alleyway. He was like, get on the ground now. Which is Zuko sighs, and then basically he kind of looks past them by accident, and it basically uses his teleportation. Which basically, there's a black flash, and boom, he's gone. Which they're like, what the? One of them's like, fuck, where do you think he went? The other one's like, I don't know. So, Zuko basically is right behind them from a good, probably from them, probably 10 meters away. Or basically, just far enough, basically, he can have a good run and start, and the cops basically, can't basically get to him in time. So Zuko basically is like, whoa. As one of them heard him, they turned around, he was like, he's over there! Must be a semblance! Zuko's like, gotta go! And just start running. Basically, one of them basically tries to basically shoot, but the other one basically stops and was like, hey, what do you think you're doing? He's like, trying to stop him. He was like, oh, we have to go after him. We can't shoot. We might hit some villains. It's nighttime. He was like, doesn't matter. So basically, yeah, they start running after him. And Zuko basically somehow, not knowing where he's going, but he's just running faster than he, basically would think. He's like, what the? How am I able to run fast? Maybe it's... No, it can't be. Which, basically, then he hears, someone saying, take a left. And he basically, looks around, and basically, though, he just listens. And then basically says, take a right after, 3 blocks. And then basically would say, go up that fire escape. And he just does. But then he's like, wait a minute. He looks up, basically, and gets up to, basically, the edge of a building. And then, just run. So, basically, the cops are very much losing him. But he, just in case, he jumps off the building, basically gets to the other side of the building, rolls on it, and then basically keeps on running. And then when it tells him to go down, he just jumps and then basically teleports down. And basically, he's just, lands and, well, he just basically would go like, okay, where's a place I can hide? Which, basically, looks and he would find a abandoned building, basically in about 20 minutes. So, when Izuku basically gets, into the abandoned building, he finds a place to sit down and rest. He was like, okay, right away from the cops. My mom would never really like me to do that, but hey, new world, don't want to get basically in trouble. And don't want to go to Beacon either. Which, basically then, you hear the exact same voice. He goes, reward unlocked. Escape from the cops and avoid going to Beacon. Which he's like, huh, cool. Basically, what happens is then, basically, all of a sudden there's a light, and then basically he hears something like a thud. Which when he was, which he had his eyes closed and he's opened them, he sees new clothing. He goes, huh? What's these? Just hunter clothing. A new outfit basically for your, lifestyle. This outfit basically will not be damaged by many things. If it is damaged, you have to use your aura to repair it. And, basically, the black, hooded scarf cape basically will give you somewhat of a, easier time to run, but when basically you use it, or when you're running at a certain speed, black feathers will basically appear. Which he's like, okay. So, basically though, Izuku's we basically would change into the outfit. I mean, he has basically black boots, combat boots, basically pants that are black, but, lots of pockets. A basically white shirt, but seems like basically there's whole bunch of feathers going around, and then basically the jacket that has basically, a jacket that basically, has basically a crow on the back, and then basically he puts on basically a hood and that has basically looks like a cape or, scarf, but it's like, which he doesn't understand how, but he goes, huh, why does it basically has feathers and a crow on it? He goes, to symbolize basically a freedom that you have. He goes, huh? Well, I don't understand it, but whatever. Basically, he kind of looks at the outfit more, but then he notices basically that the ring for the hood and the hood basically that's attached to the scarf cape basically also has a mask on. He goes, huh, a mask? Cool. Wait, yeah, he goes, huh, a mask? Cool. Which basically says, to hide your identity if you don't want people to know you. Which is like, alright, true. So, how am I gonna, oh wait, I just realized something. Basically, all of a sudden, basically, just things plop on the ground. He goes, huh? Books? How to read the language 101, Japanese to whatever language that they are. He goes, okay, and then history, science, math, grim mythology, research of it. Which basically is like, let me guess, I have to read all this to understand everything about this world. Is correct. Since basically you are not basically going to Beacon, or, well, if you even do, I still will be around to assist you. I am basically your reward system. Which he's like, alright, I'll start reading. So basically, Zuko starts basically reading basically from Japanese to whatever language that they have. And then, I mean, that does take some time, but because it's from, given a basically one-on-one lesson of it, basically in the book, he's able to basically look at each word and, from the history book, and look at the, look back at the Japanese to whatever language that they have, and figure out how to read it. Though, he would have to basically sleep. So, but he'll wake up basically in the morning, basically the next day, very early, and continue his lessons. Basically, he would start reading basically the history book, since he got the hang of it, of understanding the language, and even basically then the Grimm, because that was what he's basically been interested in, and he was very shocked to basically even, hear about Grimms. He goes, so basically they're darkness, and they're basically from the dark side of people, the negative emotions, the evil, the sadness, the pain. Huh. And hunters basically counteract that by using the light, but also using their darkness to use their aura and their semblance. Interesting. Which, basically, after, he would kind of keep basically reading, and, he says, I wish I basically had a notebook. I'll basically want to write notes and basically then study Grimms. I could basically figure out a way how to defeat them way more quicker then. So, basically, what will happen is that when he basically goes to the science book, when he opens it, he basically sees a little pouch. Sort of. He was like, huh? Basically, when he basically holds the pouch, he's like, what's in here? And basically, he opens it up and there's a wallet. He goes, and a phone. He goes, wait, what? When he basically, would open up the wallet, basically, and there's a note in it. He goes, Dear Zuko Midoriya, I am the one who basically summoned you. I will not tell you my name right away, but we will meet someday, I am sure of it. Though, I basically thought this would be best for you to even have a phone, to basically where you can contact me for any information that you are worried about, and if basically ever decide to try to come to Beacon, too. Basically, the wallet basically has basically some cash in it, and any money you receive, and even a credit card, basically that is given to you by me. You see, this credit card is basically to help you with any expenses, if you would not have enough of. I would just recommend never go over 1 million. I do not have enough money basically to handle that much. Which basically Zuko's just blinking. He goes like, oh, and basically, I basically also would basically recommend trying to get some identification in this world. I basically could pull a few strings, but I'll have to basically have someone to meet you to give it to you. So do not worry about this, Zuko Midoriya. There's help in this world still, even though the system can only grant you so much help. You must look for allies and friends. Make acquaintances with them. Build bonds here, and basically they will help you with your journey. So, I hope you good luck, Izuku Midoriya. And may the light protect you. P.S. I just wanted to say that line for fun. Which Izuku just blinks and then laughs a bit. He goes, alright. He puts the phone in basically the wall basically away. And basically though he starts reading the science. Though after basically he looks out the window and see what time it is, he goes, I don't know what time it is, but I think it's around 7. Let's see. As the phone basically kind of tries to work the phone, and then he figures out how to use it, and it basically gives him the time. He was like, 7:55. Well, I guess I can get some breakfast. So Uzuki gets up basically, and he goes, now what about as then all of a sudden the books start glowing and disappear. Basically, the system will say, the books will appear basically for you again when you want them. He goes, thanks. So, Zuko goes, basically, he looks around, and he basically will find a store. Basically, not a store, I mean restaurant. He goes, excuse me, do you serve breakfast? Which, basically, the owner, well, not owner, but the basically person at the counter were like, you want a seat? He was like, yeah. Basically, he sits down and goes like, what do you want? He goes, rice, eggs, basically bacon and milk, if you have any. He goes, well, I mean, I didn't give you basically a menu, but here. Which basically kind of sees, he's like, so you don't have rice, basically. He goes, well, we can give you rice. That's not on the menu, but he was like, it's fine. He goes, nah. Basically, I'll make it. So he was like, wait, you'll make it? He goes, I don't have basically many people at this hour, so I'm the only one by myself. My other basically employees will come in soon. So, just wait here. Which Izuku would just wait and such, and basically after a few minutes, he would get his, breakfast. Which basically, when he starts eating, he does say thank you though for the meal, and he does eat. So after that, after he finishes up his meal, he'll basically pay for it and basically head out. So, he's like, where to go? Where to go? I need to get some combat experience, how to basically use my weapon. And I also need to probably get some dust. This would be very interesting to even have. Basically, then the system, the reward system will pop up with a mission. Which he's like, huh? You said I only get rewards. Basically goes, note, update. I've been updated basically to give you missions from time to time. This will basically increase your rewards basically by much, but if you are thinking this would be like an RPG, this will not be. This is only to basically give you missions to further enhance your rewards. Which Izuku would just blink and just nod slowly to that. He goes, you must go to this location. This basically has already been programmed to your basically phone. You go into the maps and basically go to the location. Basically app, and basically it will automatically show you the directions to it. Which is like, this is like a video game almost. But not really. Alright. So what's basically this quest I have to do? Kill as many Grims as you can to basically further basically your, further basically your skills. To see basically how far you can go with in this test. The rewards basically will be very, reasonable for you. Which he's like, alright. So, he looks at the phone, he basically goes into the locations app, And then basically he'll find where the forest is. He goes, that's kind of far. I don't have a ride. Which, basically, he's kind of thinking, but all of a sudden, though, he basically just sighs and be like, says, wait, how long do I have until basically it starts? He goes, you have basically an hour to basically get there. Which you look at basically how far it is and goes like, it's a good thing basically I've done my cardio before. So he basically gets in a run and start, and then he runs basically towards the location. And when he runs, everyone basically sees him as a blur, basically, and they just see black feathers. Which, at one person's like, did you see that? You know, basically his date was like, yeah, I didn't know what it was. So yeah, basically Zuko starts running basically very quickly, towards the location. Basically, even basically looks at the map from time to time to see where he needs to go. So he'll arrive basically right when everything starts. Basically, it's where Ozpin and Goodwitch are basically just on basically the cliff, which Ozpin is basically stand there with his cane and sipping a coffee, which Goodwitch is like, I can't believe basically it found some basically the maiden's power of fall basically chose someone, and it was a male. And now he's basically out there, and we don't even know what he looks like or where he is. Well, I mean, you do, but you're keeping that confidential, Ozpin. Why is that? He goes, basically, Ozpin, like, we will know, well, everyone will know in time, but he wanted to be on his own. His life in his old world was very bad. Which was like, I don't want to be mean to the child, but how bad could it be? He does say he was born without power, and everyone saw him as useless. He went to basically martial arts as a way to basically help himself, and he still was seen as useless. No one believed he basically could become a hero, but his mother basically was giving him basically the courage to keep on trying. And she died basically during the 5 months ago for him. He had no friends and basically had trust issues. Which is just blinking, and she was like, I'm sorry, he goes, you do not know. I only found out basically through him. That is all. Maybe we'll basically meet him, since he will basically probably want to get battle experience on basically how to fight Grims. Would this be quite interesting? What do you think, Goodwitch? Well, wait, Glinda. Yeah, I know he would say Glinda, which she would just nod slowly. So, basically everyone else is going to canon, but the fact is, it's just this. Izuku basically gets to the forest and then just enters, and he's like, an hour run. Man. I was going pretty fast at top speed. Why do I feel like I'm very basically winded even though I'm panting? Was it because I was summoned my body and got physically more enhanced? Or was it basically my world basically just way more, well, our bodies just are way more basically durable or way more advanced than this world? Probably not. Different DNA from different world logic. Maybe? Basically, Zuko's trying to figure that out, but he'll just sigh like, too much thinking for now. Gotta complete this little quest. So, Zuko walks into the forest, and, well, when he goes in the forest, and I must say about 45 minutes later, he basically has some, well, werewolf-like creatures. Basically, he will see that they're fully black with basically a mask with designs on it. He goes, Grim. This one is basically a werewolf-like one. Basically, he gets out of his basically foldable staff and just starts twirling it. He goes, let's see basically what I can do. Since there's only one. It will roar at Zuko, as Zuko does put on his hood and basically put on the mask, as then it would no, charge at him. Basically, when it basically does charge, when it get as soon as it gets near him, he tries to swipe. Izuku dodges and hits in the face. Basically, does a lot of basically damage because Izuku's swinging with full force, and then basically when it tries to look at him, Izuku punches it in the chest. Basically, does something that makes his skin it a little bit, and Izuku's like, okay, that's weird. Basically, a punch like that really doesn't really hurt many people. I didn't get enough swing into it. Maybe this world basically is weaker than mine. So, basically, he would would let the Grim try to attack him, and he dodges using his speed to his advantage. After he notices that the Grim basically is built for speed, and basically quick attacks, he basically just says, let's end this. So, he basically, flicks the switch for the Scythe to come out, and then spins, it around, and then when the Grim tries to attack him, he just slices it in two, as in it was split and fall down and, basically start to fade. As he's like, alright, let's keep going. So he basically starts to run for the forest now. Through basically his path, he does take on, basically, snakes. 2 snake Grims, which was kind of easy for him. Basically, bear-like Grims. Basically, a few, a bigger, werewolf Grim. And, well, he basically then, all of a sudden, when he basically kills one, basically he was like, alright, next one. He just runs basically away, and then he bumps into basically a girl with basically red, red hood, scarf cape, basically black dress, battle dress, and basically, wearing basically boots or something. Which Izuku's like, ow, which she's like, then he hears, ow, ow, ow. So Izuku's like, huh? He was like, wait, that was the girl that was from yesterday. She goes, hey, watch where you're going. And when she's like, sorry, just trying to kill Grims. When she's getting up and basically, dusts himself off, pick up his weapon, and then flick the switch so it goes back to the staff form. She goes, what the? You have a scythe? But how's this a staff? And that's so cool. But how does the scythe come out? And you just... Well, she's like, huh? She goes, sorry, I just really like weapons, and that's a unique one. Which basically she's looking at it and he goes, yeah, I know. Listen, Red? Yeah, little Red. Well, she's just looking at him and he, she's like, wait, what? He goes, what? I mean, I'm just saying, basically, I don't know your name. She goes, the name is Ruby. Ruby Rose. He goes, yeah. Anyways, I'm kind of in the middle of a rush, so not trying to be rude and all, but I gotta get going. So he's just walking past her. She was like, hey, you didn't tell me your name. He goes, don't care. She was like, rude. And he was like, want to be. But she's like, jerk. He's like, whatever, little Red. She's like, well, she just has an eye twitch. She was like, can't believe him. She just walks away, basically, and then, basically, a few minutes later, she will meet Weiss. Yeah. So, after, basically, Izuku left Ruby, he goes, interesting girl. Maybe I should act nice to her. He kind of stops and basically thinks about his past and kind of just scowls and like, hell no. Not gonna do that much. I should make friends, yeah, but for now I shouldn't. Can't get close to people. Besides, if people are here, basically this should be from Beacon. That would make the most sense. Maybe? I can't basically let my guard down. So, as then multiple different Grims come around him, and he goes like, oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention though, yeah, no, never mind. This will work. Yeah. So basically, Zuko was like, this will be I'll end this in a snap. And when he does snap, all of a sudden he sees this black field go around him and basically go outwards. And then he basically sees the Grim, kind of stumbling, which he was like, wait a minute, this is my. Then he basically, kind of remembers what he wrote down for Eraser, which he's like, no way. It can also basically make the Grims weaker? I didn't really think of that, but hey, that must have been added in. Which, basically, Izuku, starts twirling the staff, and then basically all of a sudden the scythe comes out. He's like, let's see what you're all made of now. And then when he just dashes, it's like knowing the Grims can't see because each one's basically getting killed off one by one by one. But it's so quickly it looks like multiple. As then basically he stops, and basically all of them basically fall down and basically dead. Which basically they were like bears and werewolves. And he just grins. He's like, man, I've got a lot more easier time now. Cool. And he just walks away. Meanwhile, Ozpin and, Good Witch. Which basically, they were using security cameras to watch each person, but then they saw what Izuku did. Which, basically, Ozpin smirks. He goes, well, it seems he is here. Which, basically, when Good Witch basically looks at basically the monitor, she basically, doesn't see basically his face because it's covered and he has the hood on. Which she goes like, what happened to the Grims? He goes, I added a secret detail to his semblance. Which she goes, wait, what? He goes, I had to explain to you basically the truth about me, because I trust you on this one, Good Witch. Well, he would say, Glinda, because this boy is, be very much in danger, which I would need to trust you on many things for him. Which basically she would not be like, but still, you summoned him along with Amber for this? And he basically added some into a semblance. He goes, he has 4 semblance. 4 different semblances that combine into one. I call it the semblance unity. His body could handle it since basically the quark chain. But to be fair, I'm actually quite surprised his body's physically faster than normal. Which, basically, her eyes are just blinking. He goes, wait, what? He goes, maybe he basically, when he was summoned to this world, his body was physically enhanced due to all the training he's basically had. And plus the semblance and the power of fall from the the power from the Fall Maiden also enhanced him. This would be very interesting to see how far this boy will go. Which basically Good Witch can't stop but look at the screen and just, then switch to the other students but go back to where Izuku is, because there's a drone, just something fall on him. So Izuku keeps on killing basically a couple more basically Grims. He goes, or basically anything else. I mean, I just keep seeing basically werewolves, werewolf-like Grims and bear ones. I'm to the snakes. Basically, though, while he's basically walking around, basically he was stopped because he, his foot, hit something, or stepped on something. When he looked down, he goes, and he sees a feather. He goes, a feather? And he basically picks up, it's a huge one, though. He goes, this ain't good. Wherever basically this feather came from, it's big, and people will be in danger from it. So basically Zuko basically, drops in, looks around, basically, and runs into basically into a direction. So when he starts running, he basically would get to a cliff, which would probably like 45 minutes would take, even though with his speedway it took like an hour or so. So when he stops at a cliff, he's like, I don't know how far basically I can teleport, but I'm not risk to try it. I have to turn around. So when Izuku turns around and starts walking, basically the pop-up will come up, saying, noted, there are 2 Grims. A basically scorpion called a Stalker, well, I think that's what it's called, a Deathstalker Grim, yeah. But basically, I'm just gonna call it Scorpion. Basically, it's nearby, and basically a bird-like Grim is also nearby. You have the option to slay both. Doing so, you will basically get basically unique items, which is like, I don't have time for that. It's not like basically any of them that would be very useful. Basically, is when Izuku would then hear a unique bag, basically from killing basically the bird, you would get that will basically allow you to store infinite number of items. And basically from the basically killing basically the scorpion or Deathstalker, you would get basically an infinite notebook. The pages are infinite and you basically can write as much as you want in it. Even the pencil. It's unbreakable. Which Izuku stops, turns around, sees it, both of them. He's like, okay, maybe I'm going to do this. Maybe I'm going to basically kill them both. As then he hears a screeching sound, which Izuku's like, well, right on cue. So he goes, but do you accept it? Yes, I accept. So, basically, when Izuku runs towards, they say, Cliff, meanwhile, basically, Ruby, Blake, Weiss, basically, Nora, Ren, or, well, Lee, and June, and Yang basically are at the pillars saying, like, well, what are we gonna do now? And basically, then they say that the scorpion appears, and then basically one of them says, run. So, when basically the bird is coming around, basically they do start to fight, and Izuku's hearing it. He's basically, like, you know, he's just thinking, okay, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Basically, though, he starts thinking of basically in multiple different ways how this can fail, but he basically sees the bird, you know, coming around towards the basically that, you know, cliff, and he basically like, then he smirks and like, I have an idea, moment. So yeah, he's like, this idea is gonna be very stupid, very dangerous, but it's gonna work out for me, hopefully. So he just starts running even quicker now, leaving basically the trail of feathers, as when he basically gets to the edge, he just jumps, basically. And, well, this will basically, you know, will have basically probably Weiss be like, hey, look! You know, well, basically, when everyone, you know, who can't see it, Yang will be like, wait, is that? As Ruby like, no, it couldn't be. As Izuku was like, this is gonna be really, really painful or awesome. So he basically, I think, basically he had enough time basically for when it basically was about to turn, he lands on the, you know, on the basically the bird type Grim, and immediately, basically he gets out, well, his staff and starts twirling it around basically, and again enough basically, you know, give me a minute. Okay, I just had a really hard, time pronouncing this since I haven't heard it in a long time. So subtropical force, basically towards the head of the basically of the bird, basically Grim, which he's basically used all his strength to hit it, which it would basically do some damage to it. As basically it would screech out in pain and basically launch him away, but then he pulls out the scythe and, you know, hits the scythe into basically the spine of the Grim bird, which causes basically to, like, you know, have trouble flying, which then Izuku kind of realizes he needs, you know, and jump forward basically while pulling out the, you know, the scythe and basically slash it downwards into the basically again of the neck of the Grim, and basically control where it's going to basically land or will crash into, which basically is near the, well, tower, where basically, well, one of the towers basically, which Izuku's thinking, you know what, I think I have enough time to do this. Basically he's looking around, basically he sees where they are, and then basically can, you know, get to basically the Scorpion Grim, and he just smirks, he's like, yep. So he will just basically kind of remove it, jump, and basically, you know, spin very quickly to slice right through the neck of the other Grim, of the bird rim, and then look towards basically where the big giant tower is in the center and teleport to that. Basically, he lands right basically in the middle of where it is, so like where the roof is, he lands right in the middle of that, runs basically towards the scorpion grim, and immediately basically would just teleport to that, but he lands right on top of where basically the basically the stinger is. Yeah, there we go. But the fact is, while he'll land right on basically where the stinger is, so basically on that curved part, of the tail, he would then jump basically off of it, basically then pull that stinger down to, have it go right into its own body, immediately basically slice that off so the stinger can't be pulled out, then basically jump towards basically one of the claws and, slice that off, and immediately basically slice right into basically the scorpion head with a quick turn, which basically his, blade will basically pierce it. Which, basically, both rims are basically disappearing. Which he's like, I can't believe that worked. That was all on the fly. So, basically, just everyone is just like shocked. Ruby is just like, and Weiss is like, did he just steal our fight? Which Yane's like, I think he did. Blake basically saw that was like, he just, how did he, which, basically, just Dan, Pyra, Jean, no, it's not Jean, June, Nora, and Lee are just like, I can't believe you did that. Just Pyra's like, yeah. How is he able to even do that so quickly? I think basically somehow Team Ruby would get to the, where basically where June is. And basically Ruby's like, you! Which basically Izuku would just turn to her like, yo, Little Red. Good to see you again. Just, yeah. Just, how did you do that? He was like, how did I do what? How did you just fight two Grims and act like it's nothing? Izuku just shrugs while having his staff on his shoulder with the blade still. I was like, I don't know, just did it. You just did it? Which Weiss was saying, he was like, yeah. I mean, you have a problem? Huh. Just, what? He was, you have a snow pattern on your, basically, skirt. You're blue, basically outfit and such. I should call you Ice Queen. What do you think, Little Red? She goes, stop, call me that. He's like, nope. Which, basically, Ruby slowly bringing out her scythe, which Yang just brings it down. Which, Yang's like, well, thank you for basically doing that. We kind of saved a lot of trouble for us. And, what's your name? He's like, don't feel like telling no one. She's like, really? He's like, yep. Which Blake is like, why is that? He was like, 1, don't know any of you. 2, don't really care. And 3, why should I? Which basically, Pyro was like, that's a little bit rude. He was like, yeah, I'm not really the best basically person to basically say that to, because why should I care again? I mean, he thinks to himself, I'm in a different world. Besides, I don't want to have basically friends, because then he basically has basically the flashback of Bakugo and the bullies, and then he basically kind of just says, because of them. Which, basically, Nora's like, but still, that was so cool! You just came out of nowhere, basically killed basically the bird somehow, controlled where it was going, then disappeared, and then just disappear again. Like, how did you do that? It's like, it's my semblance. It allows me to teleport to basically places where I look at. It doesn't matter how far it is. Basically, he goes, I still have to figure out the range, but yeah. So, just Pyro's like, interesting. Just Jean yeah, well, not June would be like, that's actually really cool. It's like, thanks, Knight. He's like, huh? He goes, which Lee's like, you seem to basically not have basically known what you were doing. He goes like, nope, Kung Fu guy. He goes, Kung Fu guy? He's like, sorry, seen a lot of people dressed like you before. It's like, my name is Lee. Lee Ren. He's like, okay, Lee, nice to meet ya. Which, Ruby's like, I told you my name. He's like, yeah, sorry, yeah. She's like, alright, thank you for helping us. Let's go, everyone. Which basically, Zuko basically just walking past them. He's like, yep, see you around, Little Red. I mean, then he kind of stops and be like, should I call you Little Red Riding Hood? Because he turned around and said that, which Ruby slowly looks at him with a very, very angry face. Zuko was thinking, am I pushing it? If I'm asking questions and I give her a nickname, he's like thinking it's not that harmful. Just Ruby is like, Yang? She goes, yeah, sis, hold me back. Which she's like, huh? Hold me back before I do something really, really, really bad. Which basically, Weiss is like, oh, come on, Ruby. You can't be that bad. He was like, thank you, Ice Queen. Which, basically, she slowly burned out her basically sword, which Blake puts it down. Which she just sighs, and you see, like, why don't we not basically, say Ruby's name? He was like, don't feel like it. She basically, I think Yang would be like, hey, Ruby? She goes, yeah? Doesn't he kind of remind you of basically Uncle Crow and his attitude? Which she's like, no, Uncle Crow's cool. This guy's just a jerk most of the time. Which, basically Yang's like, actually, Uncle Crow is a jerk sometimes. He goes, which she's like, still, doesn't matter. So, I mean, basically this kind of just makes Yang blink. Basically, Izuku kind of looks face at the cliff, looks back, and goes like, hey, Little Red, mind giving me a boost? She was like, a boost? How am I going to do that? He was like, I don't know. Use your, Bebang sniper stife. She was, huh? Because may have heard you guys basically starting the fight. So, I mean, I heard when I jumped, I saw you having a sniper rifle. And you're a scythe, so sniper scythe. Nice little toy. Which, Yang's like, oh no. Which Weiss isn't funny, because like, basically Ruby's like, how dare you call basically my weapon a toy? And just like starts basically, she basically just runs at Zuko, basically, shooting basically behind her to get more speed. Zuko smirks and runs. Basically, though, the fact is this. Izuku basically would just run and jump. Basically, Ruby would do exactly the same thing. Basically, propel herself, while Izuku basically kind of basically wasn't gonna make it, but then grabs Ruby basically a little cape, basically a scarf, and swings himself over to the other side. But Ruby basically will land due to basically, even though she was pulled down a bit, she will land due to basically more momentum. And he's like, thanks for the lift on that one. She's like, get back here! And Hazuki's like, thinking to himself, huh, first time a girl ever chasing me. Don't think I'm ever going to get used to that. So, yeah, he kind of thought about it and just started running. Which, basically, the most funniest thing, when Izuku jumps again, basically Ruby's like, oh no, you... And before she basically, she tries to shoot, she had no more bullets in the cartridge. She's like, oh, come on! And basically, all of a sudden, she sees a black flash, which then Izuku basically would, get on top of the cliff, which Ruby would see him basically holding onto a weapon, basically looks like a dagger, as then basically YC and Blake would come over, along with, June, Pyra, Nora, and Lee, And then basically just kind of smirking with the mask on, basically puts two fingers to his head, kind of do that salute to them, getting up and basically like, bye Little Red, Riding Hood, or, well, Little Red, bye Ice Queen, bye, Punk, basically Biker Girl, yeah, Biker Girl and, then basically Blake says, the name's Blake. He's like, bye Blake, bye Lee, bye Hyper Girl, Night Boy, and Warrior Girl. And basically, he gets up, basically from the edge, basically dusts himself off and just start walking away. Ruby says, I really don't like him. Moy says, neither do I. So after that, Zuko would just kind of basically be walking away. Meanwhile, with basically Ozpin and Glinda, Good Witch, she's like, did he just... How did he... Ozpin just kind of chuckles. You're like, he let everything go by basically instincts and basically a plan right on the fly. This would be very interesting to have him around. But this may be actually way more beneficial for him to basically not be a part of Beacon. He will, learn basically from experience quicker out here than basically at the school, I must admit. So she would just kind of just sigh and nod slowly. So, after that, we do go to Izuku, who got back to the town and got back to his little basically hideout. And then he sits down and sighs. You're like, I need to find a new home. Can't live here all the time. He takes off the mask and hood, and then basically all of a sudden, rewards. Basically, the book and the pencil will be there, plus the bag. And then basically he was like, nice. Basically then all of a sudden, basically coins will appear in a bag, along with basically multiple different, basically get a notification on multiple different items, basically claws and teeth, basically the monster he has slain, plus the feathers and, basically the talons, basically of the bird, basically Grim, along with basically now the, scorpion's claws and basically tail. Which he's like, what the? He goes, due to the fact that basically you are not part of Beacon, you will need to basically upgrade basically your equipment. So basically, you must find a blacksmith, or someone that will help you out to upgrade your basically equipment. Which Suzuku just sighs, be like, all right. Well, it's probably lunchtime about now, but could use a little nap. Which basically he kind of just puts everything. Basically, he kind of puts the bag and the book. Well, no, he puts the book and the pencil into the bag, basically put the coins into the bag and basically put it to the side, so that way he can use it as a pillow. And then he'll take his little nap. And that's where I'm going to leave it off, everyone. Hope you guys like this part. I'm going to try to, make a second part to this probably today or tomorrow. Who knows? But bye, everyone. Have a nice day, night, wherever you are. Bye.